Every time I review an iPhone, I find myself repeating the same points over and over about the things that bug me most about iOS. And after so many of you loved that recent HyperOS video that I made, I thought, sod it, I'm making an iOS one. So without further ado, here is everything wrong with iOS. All right, first up, we've got to address the various issues related to the keyboard, because if you've ever experienced the true joy that it is to use Google's keyboard on Android, then you'll know just how frustrating the one on iOS is in comparison. And yes, I know that you can install and use Gboard on iPhones, but it doesn't solve the issues that I'm about to complain about. Firstly, autocorrect. It is just a hot mess on iOS. I mean, not only is there no autocorrect when using search bars anywhere across iOS except the settings menu, which is odd in and of itself, but even when autocorrect is working, it is just so much more inferior than Android's. Like, check this out. If I type out this message that says something like, hello, how are you? But then I notice that I misspelt a word on my Android phone, it understands context and shows that I've made an error, and I can then easily tap that incorrect word once and replace the word with the right one. And also, notice how easy it is for me to place my cursor wherever needed just to quickly edit a single letter. Well, on my iPhone, not only does it not pick up on my error, but when I go to correct it, I can only go to either the end of the word or to the start. And I can double tap to select the whole word, but there's no quick way to correct that one incorrect letter. And yes, I know that I can long press the space bar and then swipe on the keyboard to get there, which by the way, I can do on my Android phone as well, but that's absolutely not as intuitive or as fast as what I can do on my Android phone. Okay, next up, and how is it 2025 and we still do not have a clipboard on iOS? So for those who don't know what a clipboard is, on Android, let's say I've got a long message drafted out to someone in a Notes app so that I don't accidentally send it to them before it's been properly put together. Once I'm finished, I can then select it all and then copy it, and that's obviously no different to how it works on iOS. However, on Android, I can then copy something else, let's say a link to a YouTube video, and check this out. If I then want to send both a message and the YouTube video to someone on WhatsApp, for example, I just open up that conversation, tap this button here, then tap this clipboard icon, and there we go. I can now see everything that I've copied right here on my clipboard and paste both of them in right away. Now, by default, items in my clipboard history will be cleared after an hour. However, I can also long press any item to pin it in my clipboard, which will keep it there indefinitely. Oh, and you can also enable a setting that saves recently captured screenshots to your clipboard automatically so that you can quickly share them via your keyboard straight away too, if you like. So as you can see, it is an amazing feature, and I honestly use it all the time whenever I'm using an Android phone. But what do we get on iOS? Diddly squat. And sure, there are third-party apps that you can download and that try to do a similar thing, but obviously none of them are system level, so they're just absolutely not intuitive to use at all. And the ones that get the closest, they cost money to use. Next up, and this one is dead simple, please give us a toggle in the control center that lets us quickly turn on or off system vibration. The current way to turn it on or off is to open up our settings app, come down to this sounds and haptics menu, then open up this haptics section and switch this setting to whichever mode that you want to enable. But I mean, what a drag. Like, that's why on Android we have 3 modes: ring, vibrate, and mute. And it's simple. The phone will vibrate in both ring and vibrate modes, and then it won't in silent mode. And as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly how it should work on iOS too, right? Oh, and another thing, how is there no way to quickly dismiss notifications? Like, check this out. Here's me receiving a notification on my Android phone, and straight away, this is one that I don't want to see again, so I just swipe it away, no problem. On my iPhone, I get the same notification, and nope, there's no way for me to quickly swipe it away. I have to swipe the notification up, then open my notification center, then I can swipe it away to dismiss it. And speaking of notifications, how come after all these years, I'm still missing notifications on my iPhone? Like, yes, an app can implement this time-sensitive notification feature, which is all well and good, but like after an hour, the notification still gets hidden from the lock screen. And even more than that, developers have to actually implement the feature for it to work. Like WhatsApp, for example, they still have not updated their app to include this time-sensitive notification feature, and I cannot tell you how many WhatsApp messages I've missed whenever I've used an iPhone, simply because the notifications disappeared from my lock screen or weren't visible in my status bar, like how it works on Android. And yet, despite missing important notifications, I still receive more spam calls and messages when I'm using an iPhone than I do when I'm using an Android, and more specifically, when I'm using a Google Pixel phone. Almost daily, I receive at least one spam call or spam text message when I'm using an iPhone, whereas on Pixel phones, they have way better systems in place for automatically detecting and blocking these sorts of messages and calls completely, meaning I pretty much never see them at all. All right, now before we get to the next issue that I have with iOS, one of the biggest issues that I have with phones in general are those micro scratches that build up over time on their screens. And usually I do use a screen protector, but replacing them whenever they get scratched is never an easy task. Or so I thought, because check this out, ESR actually reached out to sponsor this video and sent me their new UltraFit screen protector and essentially challenged me to install it on camera. I've already cleaned the screen, but watch this. You just slide your phone in, pull out the tab, and that is it. No air bubbles, no adjustments, and done in under 10 seconds. It's also 7 times stronger than a standard screen protector, has an anti-fingerprint coating, and it's ultra clear, making it genuinely one of the best options available. Pair it with their classic hybrid case with camera control, which has dual impact resistance, a dust-free construction, and a purpose-built camera control button, and now we're in business. It also has a magnetic lock that's twice as strong as Apple's cases, a built-in camera guard that doubles as a kickstand, and up to 11-foot drop protection thanks to its 3 times military-grade protection. So to keep your phone protected, check out ESR using the links below. All right, then we come to home screen customization. And to be honest, Apple has come a long way when it comes to customization. So I'm going to try to keep this brief, but there are just a few small tweaks that I think they need to address once and for all. Firstly, the icons. Please let us use third-party icon packs natively without having to set them up via the Shortcuts app, and please improve the positioning system so that icons don't jump around like crazy in every which way whenever I'm trying to reposition just one icon. Then the dock. I get it. The dock has been a staple for years now, but do we really need a separate background element for it that makes every home screen setup look the same? Sure, we can use specially designed wallpapers that blend into that area, which, by the way, I've got an entire hide the dock collection in my wallpaper app called Lumina Walls, link below, but wouldn't it just be so much better and cleaner if you let us disable it natively? That would be amazing. And then to go along with that, let's chat about the mess that is the app library. Now, I know a lot of iOS users, and in fact, a lot of Android users too, enjoy having all their icons on the home screen, but I and so many others do not like this approach. I like having a clean home screen reserved for just my main app icons, and then keeping every other app in my app drawer. Now, the app library on iOS is meant to function for this very purpose. However, for some baffling reason, the apps are all automatically sorted into predetermined categories. And more often than not, I find myself having to use the search bar up here to actually find the app that I want. Now, when you do go into search mode, you actually get this alphabetized app list, which I'd actually prefer to be the default app library configuration. However, even then, having the apps listed one by one here, each on their own row, it still takes way too long to sift through this list to find an app that I'm looking for, particularly if it starts with a letter towards the end of the alphabet. Whereas pretty much every single Android phone has this almost universal app drawer configuration with 4 or 5 apps next to each other, organized alphabetically, and it just makes it so much quicker to find apps that aren't on my home screen. And yes, I know that I can swipe down on my home screen to launch a spotlight search directly, but I don't know, I still want a dedicated spot for me to sift through all of my apps, and this ain't it. And then the final issue that I have with iOS, and for me personally, this is the biggest one, which is why I saved it for last, but it is the lack of a universal back gesture. And I'm sure some of you are getting ready to comment something like, but Sam, you can swipe the left of your screen on an iPhone to go back. And whilst that is the case sometimes, it's definitely not the case all the time. For example, on an Android, let's say I'm in the Twitter app and I tap on my notifications. If I then want to head back to my main feed, I can swipe back on either the right or the left of the screen, and there we go. On an iPhone, swiping in from the left just opens up the side menu. Now, on my Android phone, opening up that side menu requires me to swipe up diagonally, which I'll admit is a bit clunky, but that back gesture is the thing I'm doing way more, so having it prioritized as the universal gesture is key here. Or let's say I'm in Instagram, and again, I tap on my notifications, then I head over to my profile, then open up my latest post to check how it's performing. If I then want to go back through each of those menus, both phones do let me swipe back to get out of the post, but then from there, there's no gesture to go back on the iPhone. I can sit here swiping left all day long, but nothing will happen. Whereas on my Android, I can swipe left, then left again, and as should be the case, it takes me back both times. Or again, in the YouTube app, let's say I want to watch some shorts. On an Android phone, again, I can swipe to go back to whatever previous page I was on, but on an iPhone, I can't swipe in any direction to go back. The only option is to tap the home button. And you might be thinking, yeah, but all of those alternate actions aren't very hard to do, Sam. Well, yes, on their own, they are fine. But given that almost every single app treats this back gesture differently on iOS, and in some cases it doesn't even work at all, it just makes navigating in and around apps way more clunky, which, to be honest, is something I'm surprised Apple hasn't yet addressed. Look, I know that Google pretty much just blatantly ripped off 90% of Apple's gestural navigation system, but the one part that they kept different is the one part that makes it leagues ahead of Apple's. And so Apple, given that Android copied most of your gestures, why don't you just copy the back gesture too? It would make navigating your phones so much better. And so there you have it, 10 changes that I reckon would make iOS a much better experience. Now, if you think I missed any issues, then please add them in the comments below, because who knows, hopefully Apple not only watches this video at some point in the future, but maybe they'll also read the comments too. Aside from that, if you want to check out my review of the iPhone 16e, then you can find that linked in the cards. But that's it. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you later.